welcome back to another week of the Waiver Wire. It's hard to believe that week 9 of the Waiver Wire is upon us. We have now reached the halfway point, and in a few short weeks, playoffs will arrive. Continue the grind to dominate your league through these top Waiver Wire pickups. Please note that the Bengals, the Browns, the Eagles, and the Rams are on bye. Now let's take a look at the injury report. Darrell Henderson left the game early with a thigh injury. Tevin Coleman re-injured his knee. T.Y. Hilton is dealing with a groin injury. Kenny Golladay suffered a hip injury. Chris Carson's status is also unknown. Alright, let's take a look at the quarterback waiver wire pickups for this week. Derek Carr. Derek Carr provided very little fantasy points. However, this was more due to the intense weather conditions and the fact that Josh Jacobs ran the ball more times than Derek Carr had attempts. Derek Carr had 15 of 24 passing attempts for a measly 112 yards and a touchdown. He also added 41 yards with his legs. His redemption and the reason for the waiver wire claim this week is a juicy matchup against the Chargers, who constantly find themselves in a shootout. Let's move on to Drew Lock of the Denver Broncos. Drew Lock and the Broncos fought their way back in the second half that led to a win over the Chargers. Most of Lock's fantasy points came in the fourth quarter, and ultimately he put up decent numbers thanks to the work of their ground game setting up the play-action pass. He totaled 26 completions for 248 yards and 3 touchdowns. Drew Lock makes a solid streaming option off this week because he faces off against the Atlanta Falcons, who continue to gift teams and quarterbacks with amazing performances. Alright, let's move on to the ground game with running back waiver wire pickups. This first one I'm pretty excited about. He's my highest graded rookie running back coming out of college. J.K. Dobbins, only rostered in 47% of the ESPN leagues. He only lacked an opportunity to shine. Now with Mark Ingram out, he got an opportunity, and Dobbins, boy, did he run the ball well. 15 times for 113 yards against the second best run defense. Second best run defense. 113 yards. And the Ravens didn't really even use him in the pass game, which is really kind of his bread and butter. And so the day of Dobbins to take over will come sooner rather than later, and you best be ready when she does. And next, DJ Dallas of the Seattle Seahawks. Really, he got his opportunity because there was nobody else there. We had Chris Carson out, Carlos Hyde was out, and Travis Homer, who's really just a guy, was out as well, leaving nobody but DJ Dallas. So DJ Dallas waited patiently on the bench for opportunity to play, and play he did. Most of his damage came through the air as he caught 5 of his targets, and in addition he earned 41 yards on the ground. 18 attempts, granted, 18 attempts isn't great for 41 yards, but he did get 2 touchdowns. And so if DJ Dallas will be a solid play next week if the rest of his team is out with injury. All right. Let's take a look at the last running back that I'm pretty confident starting in, JaMycal Hasty of the 49ers. He finally found his way onto the field for an extended stretch. Of course, this is due to the dwindling personnel as well, just like DJ Dallas. However, his field time is field time. Hasty ran the ball well at times, even finishing a goal line push to the end zone. However, the rookie did fumble, which is sure to have its own set of consequences. We know how Kyle Shanahan kind of holds grudges. But the 49ers will continue to need Hasty as long as Coleman and the others are out. Hasty makes for a top pick this week due to the Week 9 opponent, Green Bay, who allows the most fantasy points to running backs. I'm going to say that again. Hasty will play the Green Bay Packers, who allow the most fantasy points to running backs. Whoever the running back is for the 49ers is a must start, must play. The most fantasy points to running backs. Enough said. And now we're going to take a look at our next segment, the waiver wire bench warmers for running backs. These 3 running backs are running backs that I don't feel super confident in suggesting to you, but I also understand the nature of the running back position, and sometimes you just need a person to play. And so, La'Mical P. Ryan, 32% rostered. Damian Harris, 30% rostered, who I believe, I could be wrong here, but double check, I believe play the Jets. If that's not true, then that's coming up very soon, and Damian Harris I'm expecting to do pretty well in that game. But again, I could be wrong. Excuse me. And then, of course, J.D. McKissick, 33%. Well, again, they find their way here because they're not slam dunks, but again, if you just need a guy for this week, look for him. Now let's take a look at the waiver wire for wide receivers. My first pickup is Mike Williams. Mike Williams is a straight-up baller. His contested catch rate continues to impress, and even though he won escape in this last end zone, that's just one thing. The Chargers offense continues to put up numbers, and Mike Williams finds himself in the middle of it. A true boom bust, Williams has the talent to put up monstrous games any given week, and his next three matchups are money as well. We have the Raiders, we have the Dolphins, and we have the Jets. Easy. Next, let's take a look at Tim Patrick of the Broncos. I continue to write about Tim Patrick, and yes, last week he was injured, so if you dropped him, that's more than fine. But we hope that he recovers enough from his hamstring injury fast enough to compete against, guess what? The Atlanta Falcons this Sunday. When on the field, Patrick puts up solid numbers, and the Broncos now face the Falcons, who allow the 5th most points to wide receivers. Get well, Sir Patrick. Get well. And let's move on to Jalen Reagor. Who knows what's going on with the Eagles' passing games, but there's one thing that is clear. After their bye week this week, the schedule is much nicer. First, we have the Giants, the Browns, and the Seahawks. The Browns and Seahawks in particular are money matchups. Top 5 in fantasy points allowed. If not, but top 2, if I'm not mistaken. Starting next week. So if you have an extra roster spot, take a look and see if Reagor or even Greg Ward is out there, because man, oh man, should that be money. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the tight end for waiver wire ads. Dallas Goedert of the Eagles. Sunday night's performance was abysmal. There's just nothing I can't even say anything because of how bad the performance was. It belongs to the whole team. I have no clue how they were able to escape with a victory. Turnovers dominated the game. Dominated! However, even with playing 83% of the snaps, Goddard still only found himself with one lonely target. I expect the dust or the rust to settle off of him, and he will make his way back from this injury. Because there's nobody else. Let's take a look at Robert Tonyan. As Allen Lazard continues to heal, Tonyan continues to fill the void. Tonyan performs week in and week out with solid totals. 5 of 7 targets for 79 yards is about as good as it gets for a tight end 1. His matchup does get a little bit more difficult with the 49ers, but who knows, with George Kittle out, maybe their offense isn't flowing. So I think Aaron Rodgers is going to continue to find his man. So Robert Tonyan's worth the pickup. And lastly, we have Trey Burton of the Colts. Who doesn't want a tight end that can run the football into the end zone? I don't mind. Trey Burton offers just that. With only collecting 3 or 4 targets, though, on 9 yards, I could see how you might not want him. But that's the thing about Trey Burton, is that the Colts will use him all facets of the game. It does make for a solid fantasy day, though, when he does get into that end zone, I admit. But I do expect more targets and receptions next week against the Falcons, who just allowed Eric Ebron to acquire double-digit points. And I think Trey Burton could meet that. So I guess you have to decide. All right, let's take a look at the conclusion for the waiver wire week 9. With 4 more weeks until the playoffs, anything can really happen. However, you may be sitting at 0-8 feeling completely out of the running. My suggestion to you, play for spite. Play out of spite. Don't let that smug manager get that easy win and playoff berth because you decided to call it quits. That's not cool. However, I will say this. If you are continuing to watch this, then you're no quitter. And so if you are meant to miss the playoffs because you are 0-8, embrace it. So be it. But make sure that you end in such an end that is worthy of remembrance. All right, I stole that last line from The Lord of the Rings. But, hey, It's true. Don't quit. Don't give up hope. Play for it. There's nothing better than finishing your league, even if you're 0-8, even if you're 2-6, whatever right now. There's nothing better than beating the top-ranked team in your league and mocking them for it. Let them know how embarrassing it was that they lost to a team that is 0-8. I don't know. It makes me feel better at night. So, with that being said, here are the next steps. Visit us at thefantasyacademy.com. Please leave a comment below. It really helps. Please like and subscribe the channel, and let us know again in the comments who your waiver wire pickups are going to be for this week. Let me know if I missed somebody, and come back for the start sit episodes by Shannon, and I'll see you next time. See ya.